it was suggested to me by a subscriber of mine that I take a look at the Watchtower study 2019, providing comfort for victims of abuse. And you would think that the Watchtower would have taken advantage of providing some very important and valuable information that is so very much needed in this organization. But that would be without knowing what the Watchtower really is, because the article is pretty much empty, as I'm going to show you paragraph per paragraph. And I'm going to talk about what's not in the paragraph and what should really be there. So without further ado, let's take a look at this May 2019 Watchtower study. Interestingly, right off the bat, in the introduction of this article, they say humans have a natural need for comfort and a remarkable ability to provide it. Interestingly, when you hear about the dozens and dozens of testimonials of now adult ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who were abused as a child of a Jehovah's Witness, by an elder, by a minister or servant, by anyone who used to be or still is a Jehovah's Witness, the first thing they are saying is that they got no comfort, zero comfort from the shepherds, from those who were supposed to be shepherds of the congregation, namely the elders. And at times, not even from their own parents, their Jehovah's Witness parents. But you see here, right from the get-go of this article, in good old Watchtower fashion, they do not mention how they lack such comfort. As an example, here's a quick roundup of the story of BCG, one of the two women who gave her testimony as a child abused by an elder for the Australian Royal Commission.
She was born in Brisbane in 1971, the second oldest of 7 children, with an older sister and 2 younger sisters. Her father joined the organisation when she was very young, followed by her mother, and became a ministerial servant, assisting the elders of the congregation. He exercised dictatorial control, forbidding his family from reading non-Jehovah's Witness literature or associating with non-members. BCG was baptized at 16. She was sure the congregation knew about her father's violent nature. He frequently beat her with a leather strap, and she'd sometimes attend meetings still bleeding. She had blurry feelings that he'd abused her sexually around age 5, and a clear recollection of inappropriate kissing and sexual compliments from him in her early teens. At 17, the abuse escalated when her mother and siblings were away for a fortnight in Brisbane. Left alone, she was repeatedly assaulted by her father, despite her father threatening to beat her and kick her out if she spoke to anyone without him being present. BCG eventually approached the wife of an elder called Kevin Bowditch, but was told he couldn't talk to her without her father present. Twice, she approached another elder, Dino Ally, a good friend of her father's. Despite her obvious distress, again, she was told her father had to be present. Eventually, BCG told the person who would become her future husband. He persuaded Ally to meet him and BCG. She said Ally seemed incensed at her and warned her she was making a very serious allegation. She said she knew that. A number of meetings were arranged between BCG, Ally, Bowditch, and another elder, Ron DeRoy. She wasn't told about their purpose. Again, she was met with anger and asked highly inappropriate questions, like, "Did you enjoy it?" Because the elders were all male and also her father's friends, she was reluctant to give them details and only answered direct questions. They instructed her to tell her mother about the abuse. When she did, her mother revealed that her father had abused her older sister. BCG asked how she could have left her alone with him. Her mother said she didn't think he'd do it again because he was a Jehovah's Witness.
Interestingly, in paragraph 2, they're saying, the abuse can be inflicted on a single occasion or it may go on for years. But they are forgetting to let you know here. It's that the reason number 1 why in this organization, in the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's going on for years. For the most part, it's because they refuse to report the guilty one to the police, and they refuse to let the congregation know that there is a pedophile among them. Paragraph 3 says, if a Christian who was abused as a child still struggles with emotional pain as an adult, what help is available? And then they mention that Jehovah will definitely give love and comfort to such people. So how come Jehovah picks so many bad elders that are not able and not willing to give any comfort to such people?
What ability have we got to protect every child in Australia?
Well, what you can do is you can report to the child protection authorities.
And that is done in some cases.
But generally it's not done, is it?
No.
It's not done unless there's a legal requirement for it to be done, is there?
That is true.
Why is comfort needed? Paragraph 4. For some adults who suffered childhood abuse, comfort may still be needed even though many years have passed. Why? In order to understand, we must first realize that children are very different from adults. A child is often affected in ways that are quite different from the ways that an adult might be affected by mistreatment. Consider some examples. Well, first of all, here, there are many issues in this little paragraph. The first thing that is wrong here right off the bat is the word comfort. In the case of someone, of an adult, who has been abused as a child, sexually, they need way more than just comfort. They need therapy. They need help from a mental health professional. And then another thing that's wrong in this paragraph, it's when they go on to say that as children, they are more affected, or they're affected in different ways than adults maybe. Yes, that's true. But in the case of being sexually abused, both children and adults need way more than comfort from window washers. In paragraph 5, they mention that more often than not, children are going to be abused from someone they know. And here they mention mostly probably family members, which is the case in many occurrences. But it is not always the case. What they are forgetting to say is that such abuse can come from someone that is not a family member, that is a congregation member, and that they forget to mention it in this paragraph. Let's read paragraph 6 together. Children are vulnerable and sexual abuse is cruel and harmful. No kidding. Subjecting children to sexual acts many years before they are physically, emotionally, or mentally ready for sex within marriage can do great harm. Abuse can badly distort the views of sex, of themselves, or anyone who seeks to be close to them. So first of all, I had to laugh when they say that sexual abuse is cruel because it is done to a poor child that is not physically, emotionally, or mentally ready for sex within marriage. So Watchtower, in case you don't know, marriage or no marriage, sex does not harm an adult that is willing to have some, okay? Marriage has nothing to do with that. And I think this stupid sentence here, that ready for sex within marriage, it's just so Watchtower's stupid way of speaking to adults as if they were children, and that's just ridiculous. Very interesting here what they're saying in paragraph 7. Abusers teach children dangerous lies, such as the idea that the child is to blame, that the abuse must be kept secret, that no one will listen or care if the child reports the abuse, or that sexual acts between an adult and the child are actually normal expressions of sincere love. Interestingly, what they are forgetting to mention in this paragraph here is that it's exactly what happens when a child is reporting sexual abuse to the elders. For the most part, the child is not believed. They are told that they are the liars. So you see, the Watchtower is so wicked. It's so twisted in its head that they have the nerves to mention something that is true here. That's what abusers do to children. They tell them that things must be kept secret and that anyhow, if they tell anyone, they won't be believed. Well, that's exactly what the Watchtower does. They keep children abuse secret and they do not believe them. And please, 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 if you are so ignorant still as to not know that the Watchtower does that, go over to silentlambs.com and read the testimonials there. You'll find more than you have time to read. Paragraph 8, they're telling us it is not surprising then that sexual abuse can cause lasting harm. How evil this crime is, such widespread abuse is clear evidence that we are living in the last days, a time when many have no natural affection and when wicked men and impostors will advance from bad to worse. First of all, child abuse has nothing to do with the so-called last days because it has nothing to do with the time we're living now. There's always been sexual abuse against children from the beginning of times, okay? So when the Watchtower is trying to take anything that's bad in the world as evidence that it's because it's the last days, that's not proven. They can't write anything that is proven because it's not, because it's a lie. And secondly, when they are saying that men nowadays have no natural affection, well, if there is one people that has no natural affection, it's Jehovah's Witnesses. They have no natural affection even with their own family members, because when that family member is leaving the cult for any reason, whether it is their fault or not, whether they committed a sin or not, that person is shunned to death by their own family members. Therefore, Jehovah's Witnesses have no natural affection. Who can provide comfort? Paragraph 9. Those who have been abandoned by parents or victimized by people close to them may especially need comfort. The psalmist David knew that Jehovah is the most reliable provider of comfort. David had faith that Jehovah takes in those who have been rejected by their loved ones. How does Jehovah do so? He uses faithful human servants. Well, there is something very, very wrong in this paragraph because they are pretty much saying that the predator, the sexual predator, apparently is not coming from the spiritual family of Jehovah. And that instead of comfort, any child or even any adult that has been abused as a child and still sitting in those Kingdom Hall chairs and reading this, not only they're not getting any comfort, but it makes them probably very depressed because the paragraph ignores completely that in many cases the guilty ones are exactly that. They are faithful servants, faithful human servants of Jehovah. Interestingly, it seems that paragraph 10 is a reminder to the elders that they should be tender and gentle and offer comfort, spiritual comfort. But we know, again, that in many cases, This is not the case at all. And it hasn't been the experience of those reporting to such elders that they were sexually abused.
BCG and her mother then spoke to the two youngest daughters, around ages 5 and 7. They both reported sexual assaults by their father. BCG and her mother told the elders, but Rhonda Roy told them, "We don't want to talk to your sisters because they're too young to know what they're talking about." The elders said BCG had to put her allegations to her father. Terrified, she went ahead for the sake of her younger sisters. In the meeting, her father threatened to flog her, hit her, and kill her. The elders only intervened when he got up and moved towards her. Eventually, he was disfellowshipped, but DeRoy told her it wasn't for abusing her, but for some other misconduct. When she asked why, he said they needed 2 or more witnesses. When she mentioned her sisters, he said it had to be the same event.
In paragraph 11, they go on to talk about comfort and saying that the elders are not the only one who can give comfort, that mature Christians, mature sisters can also give comfort. But here again, they get it all wrong. We are not talking about comfort when we are dealing with sexual abuse against children. We should be talking about helping them more seriously than that. We should be talking about helping them professionally. But of course, it is not mentioned in this paragraph. And from then on, as it is expected from Watchtower, they are going to be completely besides the point, talking about offering practical help in paragraph 13. Make distressed one feel safe and comfortable, paragraph 14. Be a good listener in paragraph 15. And yet again, pray in paragraph 18, which none of those are bad. But the problem that I find here, going through this Watchtower study article, it's that supposedly giving some relief to sexually abused children. This article doesn't mention, not even once, that those people have the right to seek mental professional help. It's all about receiving comfort from people who have no clue about what those sexually abused children, who are now probably adults, are going through. And one very, very important thing that is missing, painfully missing from this article, from this study article of the Watchtower, is that as people, as Jehovah's Witnesses are sitting and studying this article, they are not told in the article that there are some pedophiles sitting next to them as they are sitting there in this Kingdom Hall studying this article. This, my dear Jehovah's Witnesses, if you are a Jehovah's Witness listening to this, you will never, never be told by the Watchtower that Watchtower, instead of protecting you against pedophiles, let them roam among your children within the congregation and outside the congregation. That's why, as a parent, Jehovah's Witness parent, it's your duty to dig into your own religion. Because if you don't know that the Watchtower is letting pedophiles roam around you, roam among you, you need to know that. You need to know that for your children. You need to protect your children from pedophiles. And in order to do that, you must dig outside of the Watchtower. Because the Watchtower leaders will never, ever, ever write a study article based on that fact.